All right, man. This is mostly superheroes. It's time. We're going to the MCU. Shocker. And it's taken over again. Taken over the entire episode. 2 things happening in 1 week. 2 massive things. And man, oh man, let's get into it. So MCU Phase 4. That's where we're at. Title number 27, folks. We're on MCU title number 27. Taking place right after Captain America Civil War and just before Avengers Infinity War. This OG Avenger finally gets her very own film here in July 2021. We just saw it in theaters. Let's break it down, talk about how we feel, bust it wide open. Scarlett Johansson debuts in her very first single solo film about the character, the Black Widow. Let's give it up. Before we get into the details of this thing, I want to give some high level. How's it doing out there in the real world? Okay, this thing was in theaters. Andy and we saw this with our ladies. It was our first trip back to the theater, and this thing's doing all right out there in the real world. This came from The Hollywood Reporter, Pamela McClintock over there, July 12th. So a couple days old here. We're recording here on the 14th. Looks like the superhero pick made more than $60 million on Disney Plus Premier Access, which takes up about 27% of its $218 million hybrid streaming box office debut.
Wow. You know why that number's huge, though?
Tell me.
I watched a TikTok, so I don't know if it's true.
Okay.
They pocket all that money, $60 million.
Disney
That's
Plus.
theirs.
That's Disney.
That's theirs and whoever made it. Now, the $218 million gets split between the theaters and all of that.
Oh, wow.
So if they can make all their money on Disney Plus,
makes sense.
The theaters are going to start to get cut out.
So you're telling me 27% of all the money they made, they got to keep 100% of that
100%.
money. That's very interesting because they're like, yeah, this is us. We didn't have any of these other rights, usage. But also, man, it's interesting because the pandemic, we're on this. Things are opening up again, but we also got the variant happening right now, this other variant that's out there. Variants. And I'm just saying, like, it's interesting to see because this is quite a bit bigger than, do you remember like the biggest pandemic box office? It was like somewhere in the ballpark of 60 or 70 million.
Yeah.
It was Tenet back in the...
Yeah.
Like it was Tenet.
It was Tenet.
Something
beat it, but it wasn't, it wasn't anywhere near 200 million.
No.
So you can see this big comeback. It's a Marvel movie. It was the first time back. Either way, doing just fine out there. Did you watch it on Disney Plus? Did you watch it in the theater? Let us know. And talking about the theater, got a couple photos here. That's got to really plug the YouTube, the Facebook, anywhere you're watching us on video. Andy, myself, Carrie, Steph, we went and saw it. We put on our Mostly merch and went and saw down the Ronnies down in South County.
20 scene.
Kick your feet up.
Got the
Get
Dream
nice and
Lounger.
comfy. Oh man.
Yeah, very comfortable seats.
Yeah, got your popcorn, some Sour Patch Kids.
Did you guys eat at the TGI Fridays across the street before?
No, Andy, I'll let you plug one of your favorite restaurants.
Three Kings.
Oh, it's right there.
We do
Three
go
Kings
to
Public House.
We do go to that TGI Fridays a lot, but Three Kings is solid.
You got a 54th Street there too.
Oh, yeah.
That might have been a little too fancy for before the movies.
And a Joey B's. That's a good spot.
That's a good spot. We had a couple beers. We had some appetizers. But, we did the Sour Patch Kids. You can see Andy here on the picture. Carrie had the popcorn. And it was a lot of fun. We had talked about maybe doing some live interviews while we were there. I almost did it. There were these 2 cosplayers there, and I was going to get their picture. They were both dressed up in Black Widow. I talked to them before the movie, and I was like, great outfits.
Both girls?
Both girls. One in white one in the black one. The outfits. They look like twins, actually. And I was like, I'm going to interview you guys afterwards, take a picture. And they're like, all right, cool. Well, then during the movie, they talked the whole time. So I didn't talk to them afterwards.
And they did the post-movie clap.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a big fan of
And
it.
forced it. Yeah.
What do they talk? Do they talk
just
movie?
Like, literally just out loud talking during a movie. Like, about what's happening now? Like, at that volume. Like, hey, man.
Just a watch.
I didn't even notice that.
Well, I did because I get really been out of shape about it. But anyway, we went and saw it. Like I said, plug in the YouTube channel. You can see those pictures of us. And now we're going to talk about the movie. We're going to do this thing first, then we'll take a break, and we're going to talk about Loki. Like I said, a lot happened today. Man, this movie right here. Already talked about the budget. Let's talk about the story real quick. Andy, you and I have seen this thing. PC Mike has not.
I have not, so this is going to be fun for me.
Right.
I want spoilers.
So you're here for the spoilers. Yeah. Everyone else out there, spoiler alert right now for Black Widow. We're going to break this thing wide open. Story at a high level, right? Because I like to just get it out of the way so we can just break it open. Andy, let's tell Mike about this. Mike, looks like you have a question.
Before you get into this.
Yeah, please.
I don't want to have technicalities or anything.
Okay.
You have title number 27 here.
I already like where you're going with this.
So is Loki 26?
So Loki's title number 26 in the MCU. And I'm literally just listing these things number-wise by release order, and we'll do that forever.
Okay, but technically Loki's last episode was released after this was released.
Ooh, but it came first.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Which came first? That is the question. But I would go with. I agree.
And just so you know, these numbers
when it starts.
And just so you know, these numbers are like my numbers. So I haven't like.
It's the official. It's
the Mostly Superheroes order. Like I'm telling you right now, you go to mostlysuperheroes.com. I thought you were going another direction with this. I'm just gonna get there right now. This movie, yeah, it's number 27, but there is no doubt in my mind. This is actually kind of crazy news. For the first time ever, I am breaking I kind of did a general rule of thumb, release order. Like even when it comes to Star Wars, release order. Like whatever the producers, the writers, the directors release this in, you got to have like what was happening around you. I feel like you get like the culture of what was happening, and it matters when you see this. This is the first time I saw a Marvel movie that obviously got delayed a long time. Let's just go ahead and admit that, right? A 1.5 year delay. I mean, what was it, 2 full years? I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but it was a long time. But even so, being delayed even 1.5 years, supposed to be coming out in 2019, came out in 2021. It should have come out right after Captain America Civil War. And let's just talk about why. Let's get into the story. I already gave that spoiler alert right now. Andy and I, let's break it open and tell Mike all about this thing. So this movie opens up right after Civil War. Like right away, it's like, okay, Civil War's ended. Black Widow's in a bathroom, and guess who's in there? General Thunderbolt Ross, that we meet for the very first time in the Incredible Hulk, and then we see many times throughout the MCU Avengers movies, Captain America, Civil War. He's right in this movie again. And he's like, I'm coming for you. You broke the Sokovia Accords. It picks right up where this movie ends. Like, not even a little bit. Like, it's like Sokovia Accords are in effect. You're having to think to yourself, okay, she's on the run.
Again.
She's back all of a sudden in Russia. And she's in Russia, and she's looking for her family. We get, like, one flashback to her and her family growing up. Her parents were Russian spies in America. And for the first, 6 years of her life, she was, living this kind of, American spy life. She has a younger sister. That's who we meet as Florence Pugh in the movie. And let me just stop right here for a second. Carrie had asked me as we walked into the theater. She said, do I need to know anything? And I go, no, probably not. Because, Marvel's really good at doing standalone films. You can watch Ant-Man, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Doctor Strange. There's all these movies that don't really tie directly to the main storyline. You're like, you can be fine. I was wrong. I was totally wrong. I know
what you mean.
And I had to lean over because the plot of this becomes very clear from the get-go. She finds her adult family, Florence Pugh, what's her name? Yelena?
Yelena.
Yeah. Thank you. I keep screwing that up. Well, it turns out the Red Room that Black Widow apparently destroyed in the past is still very active, and the boss of this thing is not dead, and it's still happening on a large scale, and the plan is get my family together, my Russian dad, who's the Red Guardian, played by David Harbour from Stranger Things, my mom, don't forget her name, she's great, and I'm going to get my family together, my old family that's not actually my family, but my Russian adopted parents, who put me into refugee slavery.
Who probably were, her family was probably one of the best parts of the movie, honestly.
Oh, hilarious,
Mostly
great. Her dad is great, but super nonchalant about things about ditching kids, and also very nonchalant about how the Red Room sterilizes females and takes out their uteruses, and they can't have kids anymore. They make it a funny joke.
They didn't need to go there. We already knew that kind of.
Well, that's the question. That was for someone that doesn't know it. And then it's well, how much do we need to know and not to know? I felt a little bit of that going on.
Yeah.
And then we find out that the Red Room not only still has Black Widows out in the field that they're mind controlling, but also that they have this villain on hand that they just use whenever they want called Taskmaster. Who's Taskmaster? This badass looking person in one of the best MCU suits I've ever seen. Hands down.
I was very impressed.
The
the
suit.
The look And like I
Right.
knew, like I said something before the movie, I looked up and I was looking at the theater, all the big posters that they have. Each character has their own, all across the top. And I was like, even her friend, what is that guy's name?
Oh yeah, who's her friend in this? He's right here on the poster. We got it pulled up on the YouTube channel. He's on the far right. Mason, a
Okay.
man we've never met before.
I didn't even know who that was. And then I was walking out and I was like, this guy has his own poster. I never even realized.
And then
But-
it's like a friend of hers.
But before, I noticed that Taskmaster did not have a name on it, like the actor. So I was like, okay, I could see that being there trying to hide some sort of reveal in there.
Yes.
But which is true.
Well, let's talk about Taskmaster.
Yeah.
Let's just get on it. Okay, first of all, before we even find out who it is, weak. I mean, this character teased out in the trailer. What do you see in the trailer? Throwing the shield, shooting an arrow.
All badass fight.
This
fighting.
Taskmaster?
And guess what happens in the movie? Throws the shield, shoots an arrow. You know where he shot that arrow? Under a Jeep, and then it blew up. I was like, I could have literally made that shot, and I don't know how to shoot bow and arrows. That's what it did. It bounced, and I was like, okay. And the shield, even he could throw it hard. Okay, big reveal. I mean, I wasn't even upset about this part. It was just the rest. It turns out to be who's the leader of the Red Room?
Dreykov.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is, you find out in the first 10 minutes of this movie when Black Widow tried to kill Dreykov the first time. She killed his daughter too, because she was collateral damage. It was like a 12-year-old girl. Well, big reveal here at the end. It is Dreykov's daughter that, because of the accident, she's like, you think she's brain dead. Turns out she's not. He's just brainwashing her along with everybody else, his own daughter.
Yeah, chips in their brains.
Chips in their brains. This mind control is bananas. It works perfectly, by the way. The Black Widows, the Taskmasters, they do literally anything they're told until you put this red gas in their face. And I just was really let down by that Taskmaster. I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't want to focus on that because let's just finish up the story here. She beats Taskmaster. You find out it's the daughter. They defeat the Red Room, which was this big floating thing in the sky, a big hidden fortress in the sky, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, the action scenes were on point for this movie, for sure.
Action scenes looked amazing. The fight scenes were amazing. Legit, like Black Widow and Florence Pugh going back and forth. That was great. And then she does defeat Dreykov. They take down the Red Room, and they got to go out. There's apparently Black Widows all over the world that have been mind controlled, so they got to go out and find them. In the end, she splits from her family. Her family leaves, presumably goes on the run. We don't really know what happens to Yelena, and it looks like General Ross was going to capture her at the end. For no reason.
She gives her Yelena gives Black Widow the whatever jacket
the
that
vest.
she's wearing. The green vest that she's wearing in Infinity War.
You know what that felt like to me? It felt like to me, they go, we got to watch Infinity War and find something.
Got to tie in.
Yeah. Because Yelena in this one, she's like, look at my cool jacket. It has all these cool zippers. And she was funny. I did laugh at that.
Yeah, she was a great part of the movie.
I think Florence Pugh is pretty good. I'm excited to see more of her in the MCU. I think she's an outstanding job. Killed it as Yelena.
But David Harbour was my favorite part of it. Everything.
Red Guardian.
He's so funny.
I was hoping to get more of his origin story in this. You don't really get that. He's in a prison when Black Widow finds him, but he's got super strength. He's telling all these stories about how he used to fight Captain America, and people were like, no, you didn't, dude.
Yeah,
he was in the ice.
Just lies and says that he's like their Captain America, when clearly he's like a discount, like a great value Captain America.
He's like overweight, barely fits in his suit. Super hilarious. Just nailed it. And then at the end, it ties right back into Civil War again. She gets a jet, and that's when she goes on the run with Steve Rogers, Anthony Mackie.
Picks him up from the raft.
Goes to the raft to save Scott Lang, Hawkeye, breaks them all out of prison, presumably, and then the next time you'd see Black Widow, again, Infinity War. So this goes all the way back to what I said a while ago about changing up my watch order. Let's just talk about how we feel about it. Andy, let's talk about any other parts that you want to talk about, too, before we get into major reviews, major ratings, anything like that. Was there things that stuck out in the movie that you really enjoyed, things that you were disappointed about? How'd you feel about it overall, really?
I was sad there was no cameo for our boy Stan Lee.
Yeah, I guess those are done.
Yeah, that's official.
That's official. Stan Lee
That
cameos
was,
are done.
Confirmed recently, so.
Yeah, that was sad.
Marvel, so. R.I.P. Stan, but
R.I.P. Stan.
Still was good. Still was good. I mean, did we even talk about the end credit scene yet? We're gonna get there.
Let's just do it right now. End credit scene, right? So let's go ahead and give ourselves a pat on the back. We nailed this. I'm just going to tell you. Like we had some predictions, right? We had predicted that there were going to be 2. We were wrong about that.
Yes.
There was only 1. But here's what we were right about. We were right about Florence Pugh and a tie-in to Hawkeye. We get a picture of Hawkeye in this thing. Who hands her the picture of Hawkeye? You called it. Let's see if you can say her name.
Contessa
Valentina
Val.
Cortez.
Just call her Val. Just call her Val.
Val. There,
Valentina Allegra de Fontaine,
played by
Julia Louis-Dreyfus,
who we met the first time in
Falcon and Winter Soldier,
is now in the end of this movie, Black Widow. She says, "This is the person that killed your sister." Here's the third thing we called. Wasn't necessarily a funeral, but like Yelena's at her grave.
Yeah.
So that was
the
that
closest
closure that
we
you
can get for
for her.
Which she was buried in Ohio, which is like, if you would have, before seeing this movie, you would have been like, why is she buried in Ohio?
Oh yeah, well yeah, and even then I was kind of like, okay, I guess. Yeah. But we called all those things really spot on, all kind of like combined into one thing. Things that we were wrong about. There was nothing about the multiverse in there. And here's another big thing I was really sad about in this movie. Not a single cameo.
Other than a picture of Clint Barton.
Yeah,
we got it.
That's fair.
And on the Wikipedia it says has an uncredited voice role. Do you hear his voice?
Oh, yes, you do. You hear his voice whenever they show how she tried to kill Dracoff the first time when she was younger. You hear his voice in her comms going, like, all right, it's all clear.
Don't.
Yeah.
Which could have been
know.
pulled from like any
True.
movie. So we were wrong about that. And then the last thing we were really wrong about was that Taskmaster was going to be just amazing. And I really felt like it was like the saddest, most pathetic Marvel character, like villain-wise, like so weak, such a letdown. None of them, like Taskmaster's whole thing is copying the Avengers. And Dracoff even says, he's been copying your friends. So he's ready to fight you. And then I was like, when? Like, when is he going to do one thing that's not just throwing a shield? Like, anybody can throw a shield, and then you're like Captain America.
Yeah.
And again, he does the arrow, which I'm like, anybody can shoot a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Like, do one thing that looks like, I bet if you broke it down frame by frame, people would be like, here's a Spider-Man jump, and here's a Iron Man, like, pose. I'd be like, yeah, but listen, man, I didn't notice anything.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of a letdown.
Has big.
I agree.
Me not seeing it and just seeing posters and trailers and you guys talk about it. It has big Falcon and Winter Soldier vibes for me.
Yeah. Well,
like a lot of fight scenes, not really caring much about the story, like too much. Like you like the characters, but you're not super invested.
there was some downtime with the family though that actually drug on a little bit. Remember that they were at like her parents' house for a really long time. But other than that, Mike, I mean, yeah, it was definitely like a very cut to the chase movie. And I don't want to like shit on it because like I'm a huge Scarlett Johansson fan and I love Black Widow. Like I really I was one of these people rooting for her to have her own movie 10 years ago. You know, she's one of the OG Avengers. You're like, why hasn't this happened? It's not like the Hulk where the properties were owned by Universal, so you couldn't. You just didn't. So it was a real pain, you know, to be like, hey man, are you gonna give this girl her own movie?
Yeah.
Okay, here we do. In Phase 4, she's already dead. Like, you talk about, I don't want to say it's too little too late, because here's what I honestly believe. When I rewatch this in my MCU rewatch, I'll have a great time, and I'll probably love it so much more the second time around, because I went in there coming off of Loki, Falcon the Winter Soldier. Like, you're not in the right mindset to be coming off Captain America Civil War, but that's what I said, I'm breaking away from the release order rule. We got to come up with a name of it, but it's the Mostly Superheroes Watch Order is what it is. You can find it at mostlysuperheroes.com. And this is going to be tucked right between, it'll be Captain America Civil War, and then these two can interchange. It doesn't matter which one. Black Widow, Spider-Man Homecoming, Avengers, Infinity War.
Yeah. I like
you
it.
do that, your rewatch is going to be solid.
Just don't watch the credit scene.
Yeah, well, and we've talked about that.
That'll be
If you're
very,
watching
very
for the
confusing.
story, you just got to skip in credit scenes, I feel like, a little bit sometimes. But either way.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's do a rating, man. Unless you got any other major thoughts that we're missing? Any notes on it?
No, I mean, honestly, the movie, I just have only 2 complaints. Just Taskmaster, like the fighting and like potential. It got me more like the action scenes. It got me like kind of more excited about more since I've been since like Black Panther. Could not think of the name for a second, but
yeah.
but like just the suit, how cool it looks, and like for something that I had not seen before, like and even in like comics or in live action. So
Yeah.
that like just they kind of missed the potential there. But we got to give Black Widow props for the ending part where I hated the pheromones thing, that whatever the guy had the pheromones that
So he
like stopped the widows
Yes.
from attacking him, so she could not like actually hurt this guy because he had these pheromones on him that like were preventing it. That was kind of
Yeah, and hey, how do you
It's
prevent the pheromone thing from happening?
yeah.
Oh, you sever the nerve in your face,
She starts bashing
and
her
she starts bashing her,
face
on the
on
desk,
the table. Yeah, that
in front of the main villain of the story, because that's how she's gonna like. I'm like, just do this. I'm holding my nose.
Yeah.
Like you smell pheromones, like just pinch your nose. Don't just bash your face
so
on
yeah,
a desk.
she takes care of that and just murks him. So
And then, I mean, it was kind of cool seeing her fight against like all the Black Widows in the end. I'm with you. The fight scenes were really nice. Florence Pugh was cool. There were some like cheesy parts for sure. Like when they save Red Guardian from the prison, and Yelena is flying the helicopter. Like, what are we doing?
yeah, I agree.
Like, what are we doing? Like, she's and Black Widow's on the ground, and she's like, "Oi," and I'm like, "What?"
Sisters.
And like, she's like almost wrecking the helicopter so many times.
Yeah, but that
Um,
it had me on the edge of my seat because I was like freaking out. But I was like, I'm in a dream launcher right now. I ain't getting up.
Yeah, right. We were comfy. We had our popcorn. We were happy. Yeah, great. Good movie. Andy, why don't you? I'll go first with the rating. We'll
Oh
hear yours.
yeah,
No,
I
go
forgot
ahead.
about that part.
Go ahead.
Even my bad. Usually I lead with that, but I feel like it's been a while since we've done an actual full rating.
It is. Yeah, it has.
3.1. It's definitely above 3 because I want to rewatch it. I've been asking around for people that
Yes.
like, hey, did you get this on Disney Plus? Because I kind of want to watch it again. So let me know, but nobody has yet.
Well, Adam said he's going to be going like on a $5 movie night. Maybe we can just go with him on one
Sure.
of those. Because I would, I'm with you. I want to see this thing again. I've already said it. It would be great in MCU rewatch. I think it had its issues. I think it felt a little watered down at points. But I also think that I was scorned a little bit in terms of the timing, being a little frustrated that like Carrie, who went with me, is like confused.
Yeah, it sounds very
Yeah.
confusing when you just talk about it too.
You have to know so much. You have to know what the Red Room is. You really need to know the whole history of Black Widow. I've said this on Twitter and online. Like, you really need to have seen stuff to enjoy this, which why I say in the MCU rewatch, you'll be just fine. As a standalone flick, I'd definitely rate it lower if I was kind of coming in as an outsider. I would probably give this a real low rating. But me, going to watch this thing again, I know I'd enjoy it a second time around. I'll enjoy it during any #MCU rewatch. I'll go ahead and give it a solid also 3.1. Like that score. I thought it'd be fun to share what other people online had said about this. We had some people from the Mostly Superhero Squad on Facebook. That's our free, exclusive, private group. A few folks wanted to highlight Shanna. Just saw Black Widow. Loved it. Lots of action. Hilarious. Our boy Scott had a nice review in here. I thought it was great. It made my top 10 for the MCU. It was more in line with Cap Winter Soldier, which is in my top 3 MCU films. They did my boy Taskmaster a little dirty, but they made it make sense in the MCU, so no biggie. The action scenes were great. Florence did a great job with Yelena. Very much looking forward to more of her in the MCU. And man, you guys nailed that end credit scene. Oh, and we need more Red Guardian. Spot on there. Appreciate the props. And yeah, I would love more Red Guardian. And then Anthony from the Jock and Nerd podcast.
What up?
Got the shirt on. He commented, said, I'd say Black Widow was a middle-of-the-road Marvel flick. I expect more from Marvel these days. I thought that was pretty spot on, too. Like,
I feel like that's how you kind of feel.
I'm like
A little
right
bit.
in the middle of Scott and Tony, 100%.
I know, and also, me and you talking last week about kind of my negative thoughts on Loki, I don't know, talking through it again, it makes you feel a little bit more like take yourself outside of it. Don't let all the biases of the internet and the timing impose your thought on a movie too much. But
It's hard.
it is a question that I'm asking, though, because, like, I never questioned Iron Man.
Yeah. I just couldn't get it up because I was like,
Poor Steph.
yeah, you know what I mean. Just let me finish, please. Just couldn't get it up because, like, you just know that she's dead now, and
Right.
there's not going to be any huge, like, implications. But then
I mean, we got some different things going on that we're going to talk about here in a second. So.
That's a very good point, PC, which is
Oh,
which is
damn.
why I did the order this
what
way.
you did.
That's why I did the order this way too, so that we could kind of maybe have more theories later in the episode when we talk about Loki. And then a couple more thoughts online. A couple of the people we wanted to highlight. Brandon Davis, he's at Twitter. Brandon Davis BD. He's over at Comic Book. I actually messaged with Brandon Davis and Chris Killian this week on Instagram about possibly coming on the show in the future.
Any response?
And they both said no, but they both responded and said they were too busy. So Brandon was like, "I got something tomorrow night, but I'm just saying, guys, maybe one day. Hey, it could be. We'll see. Maybe
awesome.
I'd love to get some folks from Comic Book on here. They do a great job over there. His tweet, Black Widow is great. Liked Yelena. I can't see this because of my. Oh, there we go. Liked Yelena more the second time. Natasha is tough as nails. Movie is gritty. Had a blast. Post-credit scenes is a nice connective conclusion. Post-credits is an emotion. Oh, pre-credit scene is a nice connective conclusion. He's talking about Civil War. And then post-credits is an emotional, interesting, I think, misleading hook for the future.
Well, no, pre-credits, I think he was talking about like didn't they kind of like do the whole story like through like little news articles and like tidbits of everything?
That's exactly.
But like
what
you
you're
had to be really paying attention to all that when normally like it's the title screen. You're kind of not really on edge, like fully engaged to like reading every little thing. So
you're totally right, because I wasn't paying attention that hard, and I do pay attention during those things. But you know what it reminded me of was the Incredible Hulk.
Oh,
remember we watched that, and
exactly.
it's the same exact thing. They were like, "Here's the story of Bruce Banner. Here's the news article. Here's a flashback to him in the lab."
Good call.
It was like the same thing, and I think because of that, I started to glaze over. So I wonder if like
that's her boy. How sad.
What's that?
The Hulk.
It is
different Hulk guy, but
yeah, the love that she fell in love with in Age of Ultron, unexplained and never resolved. Just a sad love story that led nowhere. And then we had a couple more. So I put out some thoughts online just about Black Widow on Twitter. I want to see how you guys feel about this. Actually, I said when comparing it to the rest of the MCU, Black Widow is only better. Because people were saying, like, is it the top 10, top 5? I was like, all right, let's actually look at these. I think it's better than The Incredible Hulk, Captain Marvel, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, and Thor 2. And it's as good as Ant-Man, Ant-Man the Wasp, and Doctor Strange. The rest of the films are better, for sure. Guardians of the Galaxies, both 1 and 2, all the Avengers movies, and, of course, the OG flicks. But we had some thoughts here that actually got me thinking. I'm going to do the one on the right here first. Hops Geek News. They're at Geek Hops on Twitter. I'll be honest here. I agree with this, except that I thought The Incredible Hulk was better. That might be true. We just watched that. What do you think, Andy? Do you think The Incredible Hulk's better than Black Widow?
I don't think so. I mean, it's not.
You guys.
It's not a runaway by any means.
You guys were pretty down on the Hulk after you watched it. If you
we were, weren't we?
Yeah.
We were.
Yeah.
You're like.
No, I need these reminders.
You're like, I really wasn't.
But his comment, it got me thinking.
But which one is he talking about?
He's talking about The Incredible Hulk. He's talking about the
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton. That's the Edward Norton. And again, that's at Geek Hops. And then Tomcat Jeff Fighter did the same tweet. Said, I really love the lower stakes MCU movies. I hope they keep it up. And I'm with this guy. That's at Tom Foolery TM on Twitter. Tom, appreciate it. Geeks Hop News, appreciate it. Tom, I totally agree. I love I think of this stuff as comic books. Give me a story about Doctor Strange doing something on the side. I love these shows. That's what they're all about. And after talking about it last week, I feel a lot better about them. But
a lot of these big series kind of do this now. Like Star Wars did it with, was it Rogue One?
Yes.
And it was just a movie by itself.
Yeah, the story.
And people loved it.
Exactly. Its own solo story. And then they did Solo. Nice. I totally agree. So appreciate the shout outs. Andy, do you agree with this? You think there's any
definitely.
in here that I miscalled that you disagree
No,
with?
I mean, it's somewhere in there. It's tough. I switch it up all the time. Like by my rating, I kind of, when I was ranking it in my head to like see where to go, and at the 3.1, I was like, all right, this movie is around the Ant-Man movies.
Yeah,
maybe
for sure.
Maybe a little bit better. But I mean, it just depends. I don't know. Just what you're looking for. This has a lot of action. Ant-Man, I think, is like funnier, stuff like that. So, in the end, the villain, this could have been like a 3.5 or 3. Maybe 3.3 or so if like Taskmaster was better.
But and that's where I go like, what happened? Like what happened?
Yeah.
Like what happened in the planning for this movie? Like how did you land on that for Taskmaster? And there were like other storylines. I think they considered it wasn't going to be that.
Maybe someone else will be
like they had changed it. They had changed
Taskmaster going forward.
Maybe that'll be it.
I mean, Who knows?
Who knows? We'll see. But this is a girl on the run type movie, and it picks right back up after she's on the run after Civil War. So
Yeah.
I think that with that context, you watch those in a row, you're gonna be in just shape. Black Widow. You can find this at our page on our library on mostlysuperheroes.com/MCU. Got the Mostly Superheroes watch order there. You'll find it with a full review with everything else. And now we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, more MCU. Gonna wrap up the episode with a review of the season finale of Loki. Stick around. We'll be right back.